So this is the first part where we understand what is Streamlit and use some of the features that it provides. Now before we go on to the code and see what it outputs, let's first understand what is Streamlit. So it is an app framework specifically for machine learning and data science teams. You can rapidly build the tools you need, build apps in a dozen lines of Python code, or build a simple API itself. Now, Streamlit is a tool in the machine learning tools category of a tech stack. Streamlit is an open source tool which has a lot of attention from a lot of data science people. Since here it is not that you can just build a simple web application, you can portray or you can do EDA, maybe feature engineering, and each of that can actually be visualized using Streamlit and into a very beautiful visualization. So Streamlit has a lot of features, and some of the most important ones, or maybe the some of the most characteristics ones, sorry, are free and open source. So Streamlit is actually an open source. You can go to their docs, maybe go to the GitHub account and see. Now they build apps in dozen line of code with a simple API. There's no callbacks, no hidden state, and finally works with TensorFlow, Keras, PyTorch, Pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib, Seaborn, maybe Altair, Plotly, and many more packages. So this is the what I should say. This is the most easiest way if you want to build a web application without knowing much knowledge about web application or web development. Though it has some limitations which I would showcase you. But before going to that, let's first see the interface of Streamlit. I have called Streamlit and I have called a components package under Streamlit, which I will tell you why I have. So once you build a simple web application, sorry, once you simply build a Streamlit code, you write Streamlit, run, and then the name of the app or the code.py. Then you would be given this page, and you can see that this is a very coffee smooth page, and then you can go through, scroll down, scroll back up. Now you can see there are some more options here. There's settings, so you can go to the settings, change the theme, maybe dark, so it's good, and maybe you can just set it as user system settings. Since mine is dark, so it is showing you dark itself. And not only that, you can even go to active themes and you can edit the primary color and go and change the color here. Go for background color, change the background color and stuff like that. And then you can see that there is a font family too, you know, but it only gives you three options. And yeah. So now one another thing that is very cool about Streamlit is that once you change your code here, maybe you write something. Okay, yeah, this is gibberish, but if you write something to change the code or maybe enhance the code, now Streamlit is able to understand that yeah, the code was changed, and you can see that there is an option here, I option, which says that source file has changed and it asks you to rerun. So after rerun, what it does is it accepts the changes and makes the suitable changes on the code or in the interface itself. Now you can see that there's the rerun option, clear cache option, and in the settings, there's a run on save option, which basically is telling you that once you change your code and save the code, so this Streamlit basically reruns itself. You don't have to go again and again and rerun from here. So this is a basic description of Streamlit. And one thing to make sure is that you must have installed Python 3.6 or some version that is above that, because Streamlit runs on Python 3.6 and above. So you can see that there's some variables that I've defined, and you can see that there's some select option too. So just like I told you about, there's one major, I won't say major, but there's one drawback about using Streamlit, and that is, say I'm actually choosing boring. So see it is running and the code runs. The problem is that the whole code runs, or I should say reruns, and each and every process that I defined in my Streamlit, Python file, each of every process is done again and again. So you can see that it's taking a lot of time, and now you can see that yeah, the output is shown here. Now I can simply do this for let's say I'm talking about having a details of the person. Now I'm Siddharth, my age is 21. So I type in my name, okay, and I press enter. Now see, it starts rerunning again. So the problem is here is, if there was a form, okay, which is accepting my basic details like age, name, where I live, how old I am, if I am going to some university or something, if I have work experience or not. So I would input just my name and it starts to rerun again. Now if I have to input my age and I go for 21, now it starts to rerun again, and then I would wait for it to rerun. Then I would input my next, let's say where I live. So it takes a lot of time to just fill one form. And this I think is a little drawback of Streamlit. But again, as I told you, this is not a what should I say, pre-built web application which handles everything. This is mostly for visualization and showcasing your data or about your data. So let's close that. Now, actually, before closing this, you can see that now my name is shown here and age is shown here. And I would tell you how to build this. So let's go back to the code, and so first thing that we have is a title, that is streamlit.title. So title basically gives you a header. Okay, not maybe a header. This is basically your code for this. So this is giving you a title. This is for your header. So you can see that one is bold and has a bigger font value, font size, and one is smaller, not having any bold characteristic. And next thing you can see is components.html. So I did call components. So actually components is used to inject HTML code inside my Streamlit. So you can see that I've injected the HTML code here, and I've defined the width and height. So it builds a box, and inside that it injects the HTML code. So you can see that I've just written Streamlit is this, and I've given this a H3 font and with a body. And as you can go back and see, this is giving me a very, what should I say, a small font size. H3 is actually small, and with that a bold value, the text is in bold. Let's go back to the code. I'm going to switch back and again, to and fro with the code and the interface, because each and every function that I'm going to use from my Streamlit has very different characteristics as compared to each other. And for different situations or maybe requirements, you might be using different functions itself. So the most used function would be your Streamlit.write function. So the write function is like the basic and most, what should I say, the most used function that you would be using, because if you want to write anything on your Streamlit app or on into the interface, you would be using write function. Now, write function has the smallest font value, doesn't have any italics, doesn't have any bold, simple writing, and this can be used like, say, I want to, I have defined a topic, I have defined a subtopic, and now I want to explain my subtopic. So I'm using dot write function, and inside that I'm just writing whatever I want to portray on the Streamlit interface itself. Again, back to the code. You can see that here I'm using the next function, that is sidebar dot subheader. So sidebar is by this sidebar here, and subheader is defining this. So inside sidebar, you can use header, subheader, write function. Now this is a range category function, which is actually your slider function here. So then use your slider function. Again, one thing to notice is that I've used another function named markdown. Now, just like I told you about components where I'm injecting the HTML code, I can inject the HTML code using markdown function also. But why I haven't used this, or why I have showcased you HTML components.html is because markdown is actually going to be depreciated as the Streamlit gets more updated, coming with new versions. So I just included Markdown also because it was in heavy use before components.html came into the picture. Now you can see that again I'm using my write function. So here I'm just inputting the name and then the actual name that I'm storing in T2 variable from my text input function. Now there are some other functions also which I haven't used here because I just couldn't stuff those functions here. So those functions are map function, radio function, checkbox function, pipeplot function, and image function. So just as I said, now let's start with the first function, that is st.map. Now st.map is a function which is used to plot maps on your interface. Yeah, like you can actually plot maps on the web page by maybe highlighting the cities inside the map or maybe the places that you want to highlight it. And it gives you a lot more options where you can even scroll up and down to zoom in into the map and zoom out of the map and stuff like that. And coming to the next function, that is st.radio. So this is like creating radio buttons for maybe implementing a form, maybe implementing a rating, maybe going from 0 to 5, and you have implemented a radio button for each of the rating, and you want the user to input maybe, let's say, a rating of 4, 3. So for stuff like that, you can use radio. Now again, checkbox. It is really clear from the name itself what radio and checkbox are about. So you can just giving the input maybe in a form of dictionary or maybe in a form of list for the radio and checkbox, and it definitely builds you a radio button with all the options as the values in the list. The next is st.pyplot. Now, just as I told you about that most data scientists, I would say, would use Streamlit for actually visualizing their data. So PyPlot actually helps a lot in that. The next is images, st.images. Again, you can even embed images into your interface by just defining maybe a name for the image and where to pick the image from. It can be from a URL or maybe a path on your local server or local project, I would say. So it can be both online and offline. Now with this, we come to the end for the first part where I was explaining about Streamlit and maybe using some of the functions to showcase how Streamlit actually helps in visualizing what functions Streamlit actually has and how to use them.